Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are going to talk about one of the most fascinating coins in American coinage history, the 1966 Roosevelt dime. This little silver-colored coin might look ordinary to many people, but it carries with it a very important piece of history and can even be worth a lot of money in today's collector market. So if you have a 1966 Roosevelt dime sitting in your coin jar or tucked away in an old collection, stay tuned because you could be holding on to something much more valuable than you think. Let us begin with the history of the Roosevelt dime. The series was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt was beloved by the American people not only as a leader during the Great Depression and World War II but also for his tireless efforts in the fight against polio, which made the dime a fitting tribute. Since the March of Dimes campaign was closely tied to Roosevelt's name, the coin was designed by chief engraver John R. Sinek, featuring a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse with the word Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the year of issue on the reverse side. You will find a torch in the center representing liberty, with an olive branch on the left symbolizing peace and an oak branch on the right symbolizing strength and independence. Now, the 1966 Roosevelt dime belongs to a very special period in U.S. coinage history. The mid-1960s were a time of change and transition due to a nationwide coin shortage and rising silver prices. The government made a major decision in 1965 to remove silver from the dime and quarter and reduce the silver content in half. Dollars before 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, but starting in 1965 the composition changed to what we now call clad coinage. This means the dime was struck with a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper nickel, giving it the silver-colored appearance. Without any actual silver value, the 1966 dime therefore is one of the very first years of these clad coins. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and here is something very important: there were no mint marks on coins from 1965 to 1967. This was done intentionally to discourage collectors from pulling coins out of circulation during the shortage, so every 1966 dime, no matter where it was minted, will not have a mint mark when it comes to value. Most circulated 1966 Roosevelt dimes are only worth face value because they are very common and were minted in extremely large numbers. In fact, over 1.3 billion dimes were struck that year. However, not all 1966 dimes are created equal. Some rare examples and high-grade coins can bring in surprising amounts of money. Collectors pay special attention to condition. A coin in average worn condition will usually only be worth 10 cents, but if you find a 1966 dime in uncirculated condition, especially one graded by a professional coin grading service, it can be worth a few dollars, sometimes between $2 and $10 depending on the grade. But here's where it gets really interesting: if you manage to find a superb gem coin graded MS67 or higher, the value skyrockets. These are very scarce because it is extremely difficult to preserve coins in such pristine condition. One 1966 Roosevelt dime graded MS67 by PCGS has sold for over $1,500 at auction, and an even finer example graded MS68 with full bands on the reverse torch has reached auction prices of more than $2,000. Another thing collectors hunt for are error coins. Errors can make the 1966 dime worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the mistake. Some examples include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, double die obverse or reverses, and missing clad layer errors. For example, a 1966 dime with a missing clad layer exposing the copper core can sell for well over $100 depending on its condition and rarity. It is also worth mentioning proof-like examples, sometimes referred to as special mint sets, because in 1966 the U.S. Mint did not produce proof coins. Instead, they produced special mint sets which are often shinier and better struck than normal circulation strikes. These coins can also bring higher prices, with top-graded SMS dimes reaching into the hundreds of dollars at auction. Now let's talk about the current market value as of today. The regular circulation 1966 Roosevelt dime is still worth 10 cents, but uncirculated examples can be worth $2 to $10. High-grade gem examples graded MS67 and MS68 can bring between $1,000 and $2,000 or more at auctions, and rare mint error examples, depending on type and severity, can easily range from $50 to several $100s in the current collector market. So what should you do if you have a 1966 Roosevelt dime? First, always check its condition. Look for signs of wear, scratches, or damage. If it appears uncirculated, you may Want to submit it for grading by a reputable service such as PCGS or NGC? Second, examine the coin carefully for any errors like doubling, missing layers, or off-center strikes. Third, if you have a special mint set dime, it may already carry a premium value, especially in higher grades. The bottom line is, while most 1966 dimes will just be worth their face value, the rarest and highest grade examples are highly sought after by collectors and can sell for thousands of dollars, and that is why the 1966 Roosevelt dime continues to be such an interesting and important coin in American numismatic history. So next time you come across one in your change or while searching through an old coin collection, make sure to take a second look. You never know when an ordinary looking dime could turn out to be a hidden treasure worth a small fortune. We talk about rare coins, valuable coins, and the fascinating history that hides behind small pieces of metal we use every day. Today we are going to dive deep into the 1994 D. Roosevelt 1 dime coin. This is one of those modern coins that might seem common at first glance, but when you look closer you discover that some of these coins are actually worth a surprising amount of money. Collectors, coin dealers, and numismatists pay attention to this dime because certain conditions, errors, and mint states can make it extremely valuable in today's market. The story of the Roosevelt dime begins in 1946, the year after President Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed away. Roosevelt was honored with his portrait on the 10-cent coin because of his strong connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fund the fight against polio. Since then, the Roosevelt dime has been a part of everyday American life, and it remains in production even today. By 1994, the Denver Mint struck millions of these dimes with the D Mint mark. At first you may think that with so many produced they could not possibly have any value above face, but the truth is that rare conditions and error varieties can turn this dime into a small fortune. The 1994 D. Roosevelt dime was struck in copper nickel clad composition. The coin weighs 2.27 grams and measures 17.9 millimeters across. On the obverse we see the familiar portrait of Franklin Roosevelt facing left with the motto Liberty above and the words In God We Trust along with the date 1994. Below the date sits the small D Mint mark representing the Denver Mint. The reverse of the coin carries the traditional design featuring a torch in the center flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. The inscriptions read United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime. Now when we talk about value, most circulated examples of the 1994 D dime will only be worth their face value of 10 cents. They are extremely common in circulation. However, collectors do not just look for average coins. They are looking for gems, for high-grade pieces, for coins that came fresh from the mint with perfect luster, strong strikes, and no marks. It is these coins that bring in big money when sold at auction. In mint state conditions, the 1994 D. Roosevelt dime can fetch much higher prices. Coins graded MS-65 are already desirable, with values ranging from several dollars to even higher depending on eye appeal. When you step up into MS-67 and MS-68 territory, the prices climb dramatically. One example of a 1994 D dime in pristine condition with an exceptional strike sold for hundreds of dollars at auction. Rare full-band dimes, meaning the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse are fully separated and sharp, are especially sought after. These full torch or full band designations can push the value into the thousands because they are so difficult to find on modern clad coinage. Even more exciting are the error coins. Mint errors always attract attention because they are unique pieces that slipped past quality control. For the 1994 D. Roosevelt dime, collectors search for double die obverse, double die reverses, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors. A dime struck on a copper cent planchet or on a foreign planchet can bring in thousands of dollars because of its rarity. Off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark are especially valuable, with some bringing in hundreds of dollars depending on the degree of the error. Another factor that drives up the value is the proof-like or deep mirror proof-like surface. While not an official proof issue, sometimes a regular business strike coin will come out of the press with mirror-like fields and frosty devices. Collectors prize these highly and are willing to pay a premium. Now let us talk about current market values. As of now, common circulated 1994 D. Roosevelt dimes are worth only 10 cents. Uncirculated examples in MS-65 are usually valued around $5 to $10. At MS-67 you are looking at coins worth from $50 to several $100s depending on demand and strike quality. MS-68 full torch examples can reach into the thousands, with some reported sales over $4,000. Rare mint errors, especially dramatic ones, can sell anywhere from a few $100s to over $10,000 in the most extreme cases. One particular 1994 D. Roosevelt dime graded in superb mint state condition with full torch designation was sold for an astonishing price of more than $2,000. Collectors chase after these coins because they are so difficult to find in perfect shape after decades of circulation. So if you are a coin collector or even just someone who happens to look through your change, it is always worth examining your dimes closely. You might think you only have a 10-cent piece, but under the right conditions, it could actually be a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Always look for sharp details on the torch, clean surfaces without scratches, and any unusual striking errors. Those small details can make all the difference in the world. The 1994 D. Roosevelt dime reminds us that even modern coins, which many people overlook, can hold great value. The history of Franklin Roosevelt. We explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and valuable finds that could be sitting right in your pocket change. Today we are going to dive into the story of the Roosevelt dime, specifically the 1996 D Mint Mark dime, and why this little 10-cent piece has caught the attention of collectors and investors across the world. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary dime you might use to buy something at the store, but behind this coin lies a surprising history, interesting details, and in some cases a value that goes far beyond its face worth of just 10 cents. Some of these coins have been sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars depending on their condition, rarity, and demand in the market, and we are going to uncover everything you need to know about this special coin. Let us start with a little history. The Roosevelt dime was first issued in 1946 to honor the late President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. Roosevelt was not only the nation's 32nd president but also a leader who guided America through the Great Depression and World War II. He was closely associated with the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fight polio, a disease he himself suffered from. Because of this, it was very fitting to place his portrait on the dime as a tribute. The coin was designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. His initials JS can still be seen on the coin beneath Roosevelt's neck. By 1996, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for 50 years. The coin had gone through changes in composition over the decades. Early dimes were made of 90% silver until 1964, but starting in 1965 the mint switched to a clad composition of copper and nickel due to rising silver prices. The 1996 D. Roosevelt dime follows this clad style, meaning it has a copper core with a nickel coating that gives it the familiar silver appearance. Now let us talk specifically about the 1996 D dime. The letter D stands for the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities where U.S. coins are produced. In 1996, both Philadelphia and Denver struck dimes, and San Francisco produced proof coins. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 1996, so at first you might think these coins are very common. And yes, in everyday circulation, most 1996 D dimes are only worth their face value of 10 cents. But the story changes dramatically when we look at coins that are in pristine condition, or coins that have rare errors. Collectors are always on the lookout for dimes that have been preserved in high mint state condition. These are coins that have no wear, strong luster, and sharp details. A 1996 D dime graded by a professional service at mint state 65 or higher can be worth several dollars, and the value keeps going up as the grade increases. At mint state 67 or 68, these coins can bring prices in the hundreds of dollars at auction. In fact, some rare examples of 1996 D dimes in the highest grades with superb eye appeal have sold for over $1,000. That is quite an impressive jump for a coin that originally cost only 10 cents to make, but the real excitement comes with errors and varieties. Some 1996 D dimes were struck with mistakes during the minting process, and these errors can make them very valuable. Examples include off-center strikes, double dies where the lettering or details appear doubled, and coins struck on wrong planchets. Collectors are willing to pay large premiums for these unusual pieces because they are much scarcer than normal coins. Depending on the type of error, a 1996 D dime could be worth anywhere from $50 to several $1,000s. Another important detail for 1996 is that it was the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime series. To celebrate, the United States Mint released a special silver proof set containing a 1996 W dime struck at the West Point Mint. This was the first time a dime carried the W Mint mark, and although it is not a Denver coin, it makes 1996 a key year for dime collectors. Many people who collect the 1996 D dime also want to own the 1996 W silver dime as part of their collection, and this has boosted interest in all 1996 dimes in general. When it comes to the current market value, you should know that most circulated 1996 D dimes are only worth face value. But uncirculated coins, proof-like coins, and especially coins with errors can be worth a lot more. Right now, the general market for a high-grade mint state 1996 D dime is between $10 and $100 depending on the grade. For coins graded mint state 67 or higher, prices range into the hundreds. Error coins and special varieties can easily fetch thousands at auction, and rare examples have reached values as high as several $1,000s, making this little dime a true hidden treasure. So the big question is, should you check your change and look closely at your dimes? Absolutely yes. Many people overlook these coins, but if you happen to find a well-preserved 1996 D dime or one with a strange minting error, you could be holding something far more valuable than just 10 cents. Always check the mint mark, look at the coin's condition, and if you think you have something special, consider having it graded by a professional coin grading service. The Roosevelt dime may be small in size, but it carries a big piece of American history and in some cases a big price tag. From honoring Franklin D. Roosevelt's legacy to celebrating 50 years of the dime series, the 1996 D. Roosevelt dime stands out as a coin worth collecting and examining closely. Whether you are a beginner just learning about coins or a seasoned collector building a valuable portfolio, this dime has something to offer. We explore the fascinating world of coins, their history, hidden treasures, and the incredible values that some of them can reach in today's market. In this video we are going to take a closer look at the 2006 D. Roosevelt dime, a small coin that might seem ordinary in your pocket change but can in fact hold surprising value for collectors. So if you have some dimes lying around, especially the ones minted in 2006 at the Denver Mint with the D mint mark, you will want to stick around until the end because we are going to uncover its history, design details, errors, varieties, and the real market value that some collectors have paid thousands of dollars for. Let's begin with a little history. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, the year after President Franklin D. Roosevelt's passing. He was the 32nd President of the United States, and his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II left an unforgettable mark on the nation. Roosevelt was also a strong supporter of the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio, which he himself suffered from. It only made sense to honor him by placing his portrait on the dime. Since 1946, his image has remained on this coin, making it one of the longest-running designs in United States coinage. The obverse of the dime features Roosevelt's left-facing portrait with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, the year 2006, and the mint mark D for Denver. On the reverse, we see a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left for peace, and an oak branch on the right for strength and independence. The words United States of America, E pluribus unum, and one dime complete the design. This combination of symbols has carried meaning for decades and continues to make the dime one of the most patriotic coins in circulation. Now let's focus on the 2006 D. Roosevelt dime itself. More than 1.1 billion dimes were struck at the Denver Mint in 2006, making it a very common coin for circulation. Because of such a high mintage, most examples are only worth face value, just 10 cents, especially if they have been heavily circulated. However, when it comes to coin collecting, rarity and condition are everything. Collectors pay high premiums for coins that are in pristine condition, free of scratches, marks, or wear. The highest grade dimes, known as mint state or proof-like, can sell for significant amounts of money. One key factor that can increase the value of a 2006 D dime is if it has an error or variety. Error coins are highly collectible because they represent something unusual that slipped past the mint's quality control. Some known errors for the Roosevelt dimes include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, missing clad layers, and broad strikes. For example, a 2006 D Roosevelt dime that was struck off-center has sold for over $100 depending on the percentage of the off-center strike. Another dramatic error is when the clad layer is missing, revealing a copper core. These types of errors are rare and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction depending on condition. Grading also plays a major role in determining the value. If your dime is in mint state 65 or higher, collectors will pay far more than face value. For instance, a 2006 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 with full bands, which means the torch on the reverse has clear and complete lines, has been sold for several $100s at auctions. Full band designations are especially desirable among collectors because they show that the coin was very well struck. At the highest grades like MS69, the value can skyrocket since only a handful of such examples exist. To give you an idea of the current market value, a normal 2006 D dime in circulation is worth just its face value of 10 cents. But if you have a brilliant uncirculated coin, its value can range from $1 to $5 depending on the grade. High mint state coins graded by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can range from $50 to $200. Error coins and rare varieties can bring even higher prices. Some of the most dramatic error dimes from 2006 have sold for over $1,000, and collectors are always on the hunt for new discoveries. There have even been reports of extremely rare examples fetching values as high as $3,000 to $5,000 in top grade with unique striking errors. Imagine finding a coin in your change that most people overlook as just another dime, but it turns out to be worth more than a month's rent. That is the beauty of coin collecting, and why even modern coins like the 2006 D Roosevelt dime should not be ignored. So what should you do if you find a 2006 D dime in your collection or pocket change? First, examine the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for signs of errors like doubled lettering, missing details, off-center strikes, or unusual coloring. Next, check the condition. If it looks almost flawless, consider submitting it to a grading service. Professional grading can make a huge difference in value, especially for high-grade coins with full bands. Finally, stay informed about recent auction results and coin market trends because values can change as collector demand increases. In conclusion, the 2006 D Roosevelt dime may be one of the most common coins in circulation today, but certain examples are highly sought after by collectors. Whether it is a perfect high-grade specimen, a coin with strong full bands, or a rare mint error, this dime can be worth far more than 10 cents. Some have even sold for hundreds and others for thousands of dollars in the current market. So the next time you come across a 2006 D Roosevelt dime, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look because you might just be holding a hidden treasure worth a lot of money. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting with a focus on one coin that most people overlook: the 2014 P Roosevelt dime from the United States Mint. At first glance it may seem like just another ordinary 10-cent piece that you could easily pass by in your change, but in the world of numismatics every coin tells a story, and some coins even from the modern era can hold surprising value far beyond their face value. The Roosevelt dime has a long history in American coinage, first issued in 1946 in honor of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the year before. He was not only a central figure in American history guiding the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II, but he also played a pivotal role in the creation of the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. Because of this, it was only fitting that the dime was chosen to bear his portrait. Designed by John R. Sinek, the obverse of the coin features Roosevelt's left-facing profile while the reverse showcases a torch representing liberty flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength and independence. These powerful symbols make the Roosevelt dime more than just currency. It represents values that Americans hold dear. Now fast forward to 2014, the year this particular dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Coins struck with a P mint mark often enter circulation in the millions, making them seem quite common, and indeed the 2014 P dime had a high mintage. However, collectors know that rarity is not always about how many coins were made but about how many survive in pristine condition or how many exhibit unusual features. A common circulation coin might be worth 10 cents, but an uncirculated example or a coin with a rare error can be worth far more, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 2014 P dime in average circulated condition is still worth face value of 10 cents. But when we move into uncirculated grades, particularly those certified by professional grading services, the values begin to climb. A coin graded MS-65 can fetch a few dollars, while those in the superb gem range like MS-67 or MS-68 can be worth significantly more because they are so hard to find, free from marks, scratches and wear. Collectors often pay premiums for coins with blazing luster, perfect strike and eye appeal. Some examples have sold for over $100 at auction when certified in top condition, but the real excitement comes from error coins. Throughout history, error coins have fascinated collectors because they are mistakes that slip through the tight quality control of the U.S. Mint. For the 2014 P. Roosevelt dime, there are reported examples with striking errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes or misaligned dies. These can bring strong premiums depending on severity and eye appeal. An off-center 2014 P dime, for instance, could bring between $50 and a few $100, while a dramatic double die might sell for even more. Collectors prize these errors because they are unique and no two are exactly alike. Another key factor in the coin market is population rarity. Even though millions of 2014 P dimes were struck, only a tiny fraction exist in perfect mint state grades such as MS-68. These coins, when slabbed by PCGS or NGC, are highly desirable to registry set collectors who want the finest known examples. That competitive demand can push values sky high. Some top population 2014 P dimes have auctioned for prices reaching into the thousands depending on bidding wars and availability. Imagine a coin that you might find in a pocket of change suddenly being worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars simply because it is flawless. The current market value of the 2014 P. Roosevelt dime varies depending on condition and type. Circulated examples are worth face value, of course. Mint state examples in MS-65 to MS-66 range can bring $3 to $10. High-grade MS-67 examples may sell between $30 to $100 depending on market demand. The rare MS-68s certified by PCGS or NGC have brought anywhere from several $100s up to over $1,000 in some cases because of their extreme rarity. Error coins, depending on type, can range from $50 for minor errors up to several hundred for major off-centers or dramatic double die varieties. So while most people see a dime, you may be looking at a treasure worth hundreds or more. The important thing for collectors and even casual coin enthusiasts is to always check your change. Modern coins can surprise you. While older coins like silver dimes tend to get most of the attention, there is still incredible value hiding in the modern clad issues of today, especially when we talk about rare errors and high-grade survivors. The 2014 P. Roosevelt dime proves that not all valuable coins are old, some are right under our noses waiting to be discovered. And with the current market for collectible coins remaining strong, there has never been a better time to search your pocket change rolls and bank bags for hidden gems. So the next time you come across a 2014 P. Roosevelt dime, take a closer look. Check the condition, inspect for errors, and if you believe you have a high-grade piece, consider sending it to a professional grading service. You never know, you might just be holding a coin worth far more than 10 cents. From honoring President Franklin Roosevelt to being a modern collectible worth serious money, this little dime carries a big story. We are diving deep into the fascinating story and true value of the Roosevelt dime, minted in 2015 at the Denver Mint. The 2015 D. Roosevelt 1 dime coin may seem like ordinary pocket change at first glance, but like so many coins in United States history, it carries with it an incredible background and a chance to be worth far more than its face value of 10 cents. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt had been a strong supporter of the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio, and since he himself battled the disease, the dime was chosen as the coin to honor his legacy. From that year on, the dime became a symbol of both American strength and perseverance, carrying the portrait of President Roosevelt on the obverse designed by John R. Sinek. Fast forward to 2015 and the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes with the small D mint mark just to the left of the torch. On the reverse, because so many coins were made in circulation, most people would assume that a 2015 D dime is only worth face value and nothing more. However, collectors know that the real treasure lies in condition, rarity, errors and demand. When it comes to history, the 2015 D Roosevelt dime represents modern American coinage during a time when the United States was still producing coins with copper-nickel clad composition rather than silver. These coins have a copper core with a nickel coating, giving them their familiar silvery appearance. Unlike earlier dimes that were minted in 90% silver, the 2015 D dime has no silver content at all. But despite this fact, high-grade and rare examples can sell for big money on the collector's market. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors. The current market value of the 2015 D Roosevelt dime in circulated condition is still just 10 cents, but in uncirculated mint state grades this coin takes on a whole new level of desirability. In Mint State 65 these coins can sell for a few dollars, while higher grades such as Mint State 67 or 68 can reach into the tens and even hundreds of dollars depending on the buyer demand. The most valuable examples are those that have been graded by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC with designations like full torch or full bands, which means the horizontal lines on the torch on the reverse are fully visible and struck with strong detail. A 2015 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 with full torch can sell for hundreds of dollars in today's market, and if you happen to come across an extremely rare MS69 example, you are looking at a coin worth well over $1,000. Collectors pay big premiums for coins that have near perfect luster, clean surfaces and sharp detail because those qualities are so hard to find among modern circulation strike coins. Another area to watch for is mint errors and varieties. Sometimes during the striking process mistakes happen, and coins leave the mint with dramatic and valuable flaws. A 2015 D dime with an off-center strike, a double die obverse or reverse, or even a misaligned die can sell for hundreds and in rare cases thousands of dollars depending on how dramatic the error is. There are also transitional planchet errors or coins that were struck on the wrong metal blanks, and these are considered jackpot finds by collectors. Imagine finding a simple dime in your change that is worth hundreds or thousands just because of an unusual minting mistake. The demand for modern Roosevelt dimes has been growing steadily, especially among collectors who enjoy completing sets from 1946 to present day. Many young collectors start with coins like the 2015 D because they are affordable in lower grades and can be exciting to hunt for in rolls or bank bags, searching for that one special high grade or error piece that turns 10 cents into a fortune. So the next time you come across a 2015 D Roosevelt dime, do not dismiss it as ordinary pocket change. Take a close look at the condition under good lighting, check the torch lines on the reverse and inspect for any unusual doubling or striking issues. If you find a pristine example, consider sending it to a professional grading service, because the difference between an ungraded dime worth a few cents and a certified high-grade dime worth hundreds or even over $1,000 is massive. In summary, the 2015 D Roosevelt one dime coin may be modern, but it holds both historical significance and collectible value. While most are worth only 10 cents, the rare high-grade examples with strong strike or full torch designations can sell for hundreds to thousands of dollars. Mint errors can make them even more valuable, and the current market is very strong for top-graded pieces. Collectors are willing to pay big money for quality and rarity, and that means your pocket change could be hiding a treasure. So always keep an eye out for the 2015 D Roosevelt dime, because what seems like just a small 10-cent coin might actually be a hidden gem with a story worth telling and a market value worth a lot of money.